to the entertainment Talking Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video as the New York Giants have just hired a new linebackers coach in Kevin Sherrer. I think that's how you pronounce it. Either way, I'm going to call him Kevin for the rest of this video. I didn't have enough time to check the proper pronunciation, but they brought Kevin over from the Tennessee Volunteers, and I'll get into his entire resume when I get here. When I did some digging into his background, I found two very interesting things. One, he's 46 years old. I wanted to say that before I got going. But obviously the link to Joe Judge, that's the common theme, and that's where they had a link. They coached at Alabama together. But the other interesting link that I found, he actually coached Lorenzo Carter at Georgia. And I didn't pull up the exact quote, but he was credited a lot to do with Lorenzo Carter's success. And the Georgia linebacking unit thrived under Sherrer. So maybe that's part of the reason why the New York Giants thought about bringing this guy in. Obviously, the main reason is because him and Joe Judge have had a working relationship in the past. He's 46 years old, doesn't have this huge history. He's coached throughout college and, in high school throughout his entire career. He's never coached in the NFL, and it kind of fits the mold with a lot of coaches the New York Giants have brought in. Guys that don't have this long history like a Ron Rivera or Mike McCarthy. They're going for a mix, right? Because they have some experienced guys with the Jason Garrett, guys like that, but for the most part, they're bringing in a lot of guys that are younger and built from the college ranks, and this hire, pretty much like every other hire, is no different. But let's jump into Kevin Sherrer's resume now with Tennessee, and we'll take a look at where he's coached in the past, and then I'll get into some of the things that were said at some of his previous locations. Like I said, I didn't know a lot about him, so I had to pull up a lot of quotes and things off the Tennessee Volunteers website, that basically broke down his entire coaching history. But here is the resume for the new linebackers coach. Started as a high school coach as an assistant at Tuscaloosa County High School. Then went to Alabama as a graduate assistant from 98 to 2000. So there he goes to, I think that's before Saban was coaching there. Saban coached there in 2007, but he started at Alabama. Obviously, he probably had Alabama roots, being that I believe it is in Tuscaloosa, the high school he coached at previously. Then he went back to high school as a DB coach, Spain Park High School from 2001 to 2004, before becoming an assistant at Hoover High School from 05 to 06, then became the defensive coordinator at Hoover High School from 07 to 09. So basically from 1996 to 2009, Kevin Sherrer's entire resume was built off of high school coaching. Then he goes to Alabama as a director of player development from 2010 to 2012, which is where he met Joe Judge. Joe Judge, I believe, coached there in 2011 and 2012 during that 3-year stretch. So he met him there, and Joe Judge obviously liked what he saw, being that he's considered him for this job. Then he goes to South Alabama for a year as a defensive coordinator and DB's coach. Then he comes back to Georgia, which is where he coached Lorenzo Carter for his tenure there from 2014 to 2017 as an outside linebackers coach. And I'll get into his accomplishments and what he did at each stop. Then he goes to Tennessee to be a DC coach in 2018. Then from 2019 to 2020, even though it's not 20 because now he's with the Giants, but he was a special teams coordinator and an inside linebackers coach. So if you take a look at his resume real quick, everything is defensive based, right? DB coach, defensive coordinator, defensive backs coach, outside linebackers coach with Georgia, which is where he's going to be coaching now with the Giants, defensive coordinator with Tennessee, then the special teams coordinator and inside linebackers coach. Now he's with the New York Giants as the inside linebackers coach, and he will, of course, will be joining Bielema, who is the outside linebackers coach. So there you go. There is the first thing I wanted to pull up for you guys, just his overall resume. Then I wanted to pull up some of his background, going into the specifics. Sherrer was a 3-year letter winner as a tight end at Alabama, so he actually played football as a tight end at Alabama, where he was a very good player, helping the Crimson Tide to a 29-7-1 overall record and 2 SEC West Division titles in that span. He earned his degree in physical education from Alabama in 96, and he earned his master's degree in higher education administration from the school in 2000. Sherrer and his wife, Carrie, have 2 sons, Caleb and Kyle. So just another guy that seems to be smart, right? He's got a master's degree from Alabama, and that seems to be the types of coaches that Joe Judge is bringing onto the staff, right? That, a bunch of guys on this staff, including Joe Judge himself, have, a lot of education and clearly are smart minds. And I'm sure that's what Nick Saban looks for, because a lot of these guys, and Bill Belichick look for, because that's where all these guys met. So, obviously smart minds, a lot of the times you hope make for good football coaches. Next thing we're going to bring up is, I know it's a little small, but I'll read it for you guys. What he did at Alabama originally, in 2010 to 2012. Sherrer's first full-time job in college football was the director of player development for Alabama from 2010 to 2012. Sherrer's responsibility included assisting Crimson Tide student athletics with academics, community outreach, and their personal life. During his tenure, Bama posted a 35-5 overall record while winning back-to-back BCS national titles in 2011 and 2012. So not a lot of coaching experience there, but that's where Joe Judge met him. And that was the role he had while Joe Judge was there. Next thing we're going to bring up is what he did at South Alabama. He then goes to South Alabama after 3 years with the Crimson Tide. And before moving on to Georgia, Sherrer spent 1 season as a defensive coordinator / defensive backs coach at South Alabama in 2013. Under Sherrer's guidance, the Jaguars ranked 3rd in the nation with a 3.17 sacks per game and 17th with 7.25 tackles for loss per game. USA finished among the league leaders in a handful of defensive categories. They ranked 2nd in the conference in scoring defense, total defense, and passing defense, while finishing 3rd in the conference in rushing defense. So there you go. USA obviously being the University of South Alabama, not the United States of America. But there you go. Obviously tremendous success, right? All great statistics that he was able to accomplish with South Alabama, which is what got him the job. Then he went to Georgia, which is where he coached Lorenzo Carter. While in Athens, Sherrer coached 3 linebackers that were selected in the NFL draft: Lorenzo Carter, Leonard Floyd, and Jordan Jenkins. And that's a pretty good list. Leonard Floyd, of course, a very accomplished player in his own right. He also helped coach inside linebacker NFL picks Roquan Smith and Ramik Wilson and Amario Herrera. Sherrer has coached 5 players who have received All-American SEC honors and 2 All-American, as Carter earned freshman All-American honors in 2014 and Smith received consensus All-America honors in 2017. University of Georgia's defensive unit in 2017 was one of the best in the country, ranking in the top 12 nationally during the regular season in scoring defense, which was tied for 3rd, total defense for 4th, and rushing defense for 12th, along with passing defense, which it was 2nd. So there's another very interesting, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's pretty interesting. Lorenzo Carter's obviously a guy that I have been on record of saying that I think Joe Judge is going to get a lot out of, because I do think Lorenzo Carter has a lot of ability, and I think it's great that this guy who has coached him in the past is coming over to coach the inside linebacker. Obviously, Lorenzo Carter is probably going to be more of an outside linebacker, but regardless, they have some compatibility there, and maybe it'll help him get the most out of Lorenzo Carter. We'll have to wait and see. And then finally, I wanted to pull up what he did at Tennessee, 2018 to present. In his first season on Rocky Top, Sherrer served as a co-defensive coordinator and inside linebackers coach. The Tennessee defense was one of the most improved in college football in 2018. So you're starting to see a pattern, right? When he was at South Alabama, they were great. They made all these great jumps and everything else. Georgia, they were near top of the league. Then he goes to Tennessee, and they take a huge jump. In 2018, jumping up 74 spots in run defense, with opponents rushing for nearly 100 yards less than in 2017. 251 yards in 2017, 154 in 2018. The Vols defense also moved up 45 spots nationally in third down defense, with opponents converting just 39% of their third downs compared to 45% in 2017. So, that's all I can tell you guys. Obviously, I don't know a lot about this guy. Obviously, we're all excited. A new head coach, a new guy, hopefully, that brings some energy to the linebacking core. But like the common theme, where he meets everybody else is he's he's coached with Joe Judge, so it's a linebackers coach with some familiarity. They both coached on the same staff as Nick Saban. And one thing I will say, everything that you read about this guy, obviously he's a former player as a tight end, but, his whole background in terms of coaching is on the defensive side of the football. And he's been great wherever he's gone. Obviously, the knock on him that a lot of people point out will be that he doesn't have any NFL experience. But, we're not talking about a defensive coordinator. We're not talking about an offensive coordinator. We're talking about an inside linebackers coach. And when I found out about Lorenzo Carter, obviously, I just assumed the link to Joe Judge. But when I found out about Lorenzo Carter, that really, I really said, you know what? This could be a really good fit. Lorenzo Carter is a player that we're all hoping takes a huge leap in his 3rd year. We were all hoping he would take a huge leap in his 2nd year. Didn't really work out. But hopefully Kevin Sherrer, who, you saw got All-American honors out of this guy, made the Georgia defense great, could get a lot out of him. He's coached, 2 of the best programs in the country, in Georgia and Alabama in the SEC. And I think he could do a great job. We'll have to wait and see. I'm just trying to be positive here. Like I said, it's not like a major position, and it's a guy that Joe Judge is familiar with, which is what he's stated he wants from the beginning, and another guy who's very smart with a master's degree, and he's all about teaching these players, and he certainly taught Lorenzo Carter in college. Let's hope he could teach him in the pros. We'll have to wait and see, guys, but I do like the hire. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.